we're out here in Alaska, or we're out here filming, and we're capturing this stuff, and it's going to be shown on the internet. It's going to make it to the movie. But you know what? Like right now, it's just ours. Like right now, I just watched you do that, and it was just mind blowing. And the filmers watched it, and the guy in the drone filmed it. And this is so wild. And we're out here in this remote environment. We're in this small elite crew working together to make like what we're doing out here is it's magical. We're making magic out here together, and it's ours. Like no one knows what happened, but we know. I saw you. He filmed it. Like this is wild. Just hold that for a little while. Just hold on to that. Like go home tonight and watch your clip a few times and relive it. That's fine, but to immediately share it to the external world dissolves that sense of like magic that you had, right? And so like just delay it. Like it doesn't have to be like the fall. You don't have to wait 8 months to share this with the world, but just like hold on to it little for a little while and see what that feels like. And that's kind of like a message, kind of a perspective that I like to have with this.
Welcome to Outside is Magic, a podcast about the intersection of creativity and the outdoors. I'm your host, Christopher Sanagussin, a creative director and the founder of Broken and Coastal, a studio rooted in storytelling, design, and community. This week, I'm joined by professional skier, filmmaker, and creative Sage Cattabriga-Alosa. For over 2 decades, Sage has been redefining what's possible on snow. He's someone who's always been curious, intentional, and willing to evolve both as an athlete and a human being. We talk about learning new things, finding presence, mentorship, technology, and how focusing on what really matters can change everything. Before we dive in, if you're enjoying these conversations, the best way to support the show is to subscribe, leave a comment, and share with a friend. All right, let's jump in. I'm completely new to winter sports. I'm 3 years into skiing, so I'm kind of having like this crash course on snow culture and, kind of following athlete journeys. And your name came up real quick, and it's cool that you're also, not too far away from me. And, learning how to ski as an adult has been the most humbling experience ever. Like just, embracing it and just finding the joy of just really sucking at something, And I was kind of curious, when was like the last time you tried something completely new where you were just like, felt like a fish out of water?
Yeah, totally. Well, the first thing that popped in my head when you said that was surfing.
Hmm.
I'm not a surfer. I don't know how in the bike world, but in the ski world, there's this like obsession with surfing.
Okay.
I think it's partly like the simplicity, like skiing, biking too. There's such like equipment sports. You need so many items. And surfing is just like, a pair of trunks, a rash guard, and a board and the water.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess I understand why kind of some mountain people. And then it's also like polar opposite, different than, the ocean, whatever. I'm not into surfing, but it's like every skier is like, I'm a skier, but I love surfing. And so I kind of like to joke around with those guys a little bit. Like, it's like, what do you mean you're a surfer? Like, you live in the mountains. Like, we're about as far away from the ocean.
Yeah.
But it is, and so I have tried surfing a handful of times, and it is insanely humbling and so hard. And I'll just like doing something new and trying to get your head around just the feeling of it, the being like trying to understand what to do, and then how much effort you put in, and then you're kind of like falling or failing or whatever, and you're just like, oh boy, what am I getting into? So yeah, that was kind of that's definitely something that I sort of am just like surfing. Like, I don't know if I even want to try anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Surfing is like a lifelong dream of mine. One
Yeah,
day.
right. I mean, yeah, it makes you a little closer to the ocean there.
Yeah. I think about something about trying something new too is it opens this new world, and these unexpected things might happen to you that wouldn't have otherwise. When you tried surfing, was there any unexpected learnings or things that happen that kind of stand out?
Yeah, man, I think there's like the part of it where you're struggling and you're just like, oh, it looks so easy, or I see people doing it and it looks not so easy, but it just like they're doing it effortlessly and I'm putting in so much effort and this is just, I'm struggling, it's not working. And you're falling and falling. And then I think I had the experience where I went out with a coach and the coach just like helped my timing, right? This one little thing of just timing. And I caught the timing right, and then I got this feeling, and it was like, this is it. This is the feeling that people get from this experience. This is the
Yeah.
feeling that whether I'm just beginning, I'm just tasting it, or whether you're a lifelong surfer and you're chasing this feeling, you get that little glimpse of what it's supposed to be like. And when you're learning something, when you're new, that might be really fleeting. And for me, that's how it was. But I saw the like, I get it now. Um,
Yeah.
and and that kind of moment is cool because if you don't get that fairly early on, you might just give up eventually, if you don't get a little bit of the like stand. And I think it is cool. Like I guess another, like with skiing, for me, skiing is one of these sports that has so many different ways you can do it. I think that's what's cool about lifetime sports, about sports like biking, skiing, surf, whatever, just the outdoor sports that are beyond team sports are things that we can do our whole lives. And part of what makes them a lifelong sport is that there's different ways to do it. And within skiing, when I was young, I was hitting jumps and I even did some urban, like hitting sliding rails and stuff like that. And then it became, chasing powder and big mountain skiing. And then when I first went on like my first expedition with North Face, I went on this like ski mountaineering expedition and I was a complete beginner. And skiing was something I had done my whole life. And yet here I am in this moment of like totally out of my element, just totally new, so many ways of like, wow, this is such a new experience. And it's the same experience that I've done my whole life too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that, yeah, those are cool moments to feel because, yeah, you see sort of the potential, right? Like in the surfing example, it's like I saw, oh, here's like what it feels like to ride a wave. I see why this is like pretty wild. This is a cool feeling. And then, yeah, when it came to like the kind of mountaineering stuff, it was like, whoa, there's a whole world of things to learn and skills to develop. And I'm totally green on that. And yeah, it feels kind of good. Like you were
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
I like that to kind of be like, oh, wow, I'm new at this and this is hard. It's a good feeling.
Yeah. You mentioned timing, which I think is very interesting because it was like that little bit of timing helped you succeed. And I imagine that shows up a lot in your life, whether it's the timing for the weather for big mountain skiing or the timing of that sponsorship or when to pitch for that film. I think timing comes into play a lot in our lives.
Yeah, for real, man. I know. It's kind of wild. I mean, when you said that, like all those things you just listed, I could just think of examples of like, yep, yep, yep. And yeah, and it's kind of weird, like, what does that even mean? What does timing mean, right? It's like, it's sort of you making a decision or an action and going for it, right?
Yeah.
And what is sometimes it's your intuition, sometimes, right? Whether it's like business thing or you're just like, oh, I'm gonna reach out to these folks right now, right? And that your timing was perfect or your timing wasn't. And you
Yeah.
had this big project and it was overshadowed. I've had that in my career several times where it's just like I have this idea and I'm putting it together and then like if somebody else had the same idea and they did it way better, like with way
Yeah.
more budget, like right at the same time, like oh my timing was bad. But
Yeah. I know I've been, pretty much working for myself my whole career. And there's like whenever there's moments where things kind of slow down, I tend to beat myself up a little bit, which I'm getting better on. And once I realize that it's really all about timing, right? It's not because like you're not good enough, or whatever. It's mainly just the timing that the whatever the universe or everything this kid needs to kind of align. And I've realized, okay, the more you put yourself out there, the more potential opportunities where that timing might align.
That's it. Exactly. It
Yeah.
might not always align. You got to be like
No.
okay to move on when it doesn't. But yeah, being open and ready to kind of like, all right, well, what's the next step forward that I'm going to take that might allow that to be the right time? When's that push
Yeah.
off to catch that wave?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And you got to try a lot of waves before you catch one if you're learning something new.
Oh yeah. Having nightmares about skiing already. Over the years, I imagine you've surrounded yourself with probably so many amazing people, whether talented athletes or creatives or just good people in general. And I'm just kind of curious, is there a lesson you've taken away from one of those relationships that you kind of carry with you on a daily basis, maybe?
That's a good one. Yeah, I think that being one of the coolest things about collaboration, right, is one way to say it. When you're just being with somebody else, you're sort of in this collaboration. If you're doing something together, and then inherently, if you're learning from this person as well, you say there's mentorship kind of factor. If you're, I guess the way I look at it, like when I first started skiing in the big mountains, for instance, I was with a group of people that were much more knowledgeable, they're much more experienced. And so it wasn't like they were my mentors, quote unquote, but they just naturally became because the things they thought about, the things they shared with me were things that really made sense. And for one thing, like just the way you look at the mountains. And I was like so overwhelmed when I first just kind of got into big mountain skiing because the mountains are immense. They're big. There's lines everywhere. There's snow everywhere. There's rocks everywhere, whatever. How do you even decide where to go? And one of my friends and mentors with Jeremy Jones, a professional snowboarder, and I was lucky to be able to ride with him early on in my days. And he was just like passed along these things, these fundamentals about just being like, well, you don't need to look at everything. You don't need to be just you'll be just overwhelmed if you try to take in every potential thing. What we're really looking for is just that right place at the right time. And in the mountains in the spring and with snow, you're looking basically at these like aspects, or northeast, northwest aspects. So there's a lot of mountains, but there's kind of this small sliver of like what's going to be good snow, good for filming, whatever. And so that was just one of those things like that I took once I learned that, like, wait, I don't need to look at everything. I don't need to be overwhelmed at everything. I just need to focus on the pieces that are the most pertinent. And I think that it made a lot of sense in filming and big mountain skiing, but it also kind of has been something because it kind of hit me hard at the early part of my career. Then yeah, I see that in other ways as well. Other ways where you're, yeah, what do I need to, especially in something new, like what do I need to focus on and what can I just let wash over me? So that's a big lesson, a big skill, that I feel like that I kind of was lucky to get shoulder tapped kind of early on. And it's
Yeah.
something that I shared this winter with the people that I was with skiing, and that mentorship kind of like now I'm in that place where I've had a lot of time and knowledge and experience, and it's just natural for to share that information with the people who that I'm with that are maybe new, haven't had as much experience. So that's definitely one thing.
Yeah. That's super cool. I like that you mentioned collaboration too, because yeah, it's like you're like collaborating with the mountains, but you're also collaborating with the people you go out with, you're collaborating with your family, your community. It's such a big part of our life. And yeah, I'm kind of curious, was there a moment were you how to seek out like a collaboration? And do you have any advice for people, I guess, looking to collaborate with other people, whether it's, in the mountains or creatively?
Yeah, I mean, I think the advice I would have would just be to just it doesn't ever hurt to try, right? Like to reach there's someone you're inspired by or something someone's done that you're inspired by or that you like, wow, this person is doing something really cool and I would like to learn that, or hey, I feel really aligned with this person. I feel like just reaching out. Sometimes I think there's some barriers. I guess maybe in like the now that we're so digitalized and that there are some like some of those kind of ways to reach out or have broken down, or I guess what I mean is it's easier to reach out to people than ever. Coming up, it was like you have to have someone's phone number, and how do you even
Yeah.
get that, right? Or and now people you can just like message someone. They might not read your message or write you back, but you can at least try. So I
Yeah.
think that's sort of the advice that I would have, and that I've come from is just reach out and see where it goes. It might not go anywhere. It might lead down another road. It might not be the right collaboration. It might not be the right fit, but it might lead to next part. And I guess I could think of it in kind of both ways where I sort of have been like randomly reached out to, and then it's suddenly something that a new endeavor that I'm taking on that I'm excited about. It kind of happened to me like just recently, actually. A friend of mine reached out about some high school kids that were local high school kids that were looking for some free ride coaching, and they had reached out to him or their parents had reached out to him, and he wasn't available, and he hit me up and said, hey, would this be something you're interested in? And it wasn't something that was really on my radar to be, kind of coaching, but as I was just saying, it's like I've had a lot of experience, that mentorship aspect of like how I think about the mountains, how I think about skiing, how I think about picking lines, choosing what to do, choosing the when, the where, the how, the why. Those are all things that I've been an expert at for 20 years, I guess, and to share that knowledge with the up and coming generations is cool opportunity. And it ended up, yeah, so I've yet to start, but we're kind of aligned to start working with these couple of free kids, and all of a sudden, yeah, a new opportunity that I didn't really think I was going to be doing is happening, and then I'm like looking at it as like, oh wow, this is helpful to me as well. When anytime you're teaching, you're also learning. Anytime you're hanging out with these next generations, it's also so inspiring, what the youth, what their vision is, what they see they can do, what they believe they can do. It feels good to be around.
Totally. Yeah, and I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, like, look at us right now having this conversation, right? It wouldn't have happened if I hadn't reached out to you. And
Exactly.
yeah, I'm just a huge advocate of just building what you want to see, just go for it. And especially working for, I mean, gosh, I've worked for a lot of big brands, and once you get a little look behind the curtains of what makes them who they are, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of makes me realize that you could do anything you want. Like, you could create your own brand, you could create your own podcast, you can start your own ski company, you could do it. There's nothing stopping you. Yeah, we can all make websites now, super easy, and everything's there for us right now. It's kind of an exciting time.
Yeah, it is because there was these big barriers of entry in the past, right?
Hmm.
And that the barriers of entry were cost. It cost a lot to if you wanted to have a production of any type, you needed a lot of equipment. And now it's just everything's gotten less and less and less, kind of
Yeah,
equipment needs and easier in access. And yeah, it is. There's also because of that, there's like more info out there. So you're kind of like, adding to the sea of kind of media. But that's okay. I think that's what's great. Like as you started the conversation, it's like having more ability to connect, more ability to communicate. That's really beneficial and kind of what we need in life and society. And as you were saying, kind of the working from home, like um, reaching out to friends just to have that call, those social interactions are so important. And we kind of get caught up like looking at the world or seeing the world through our phones at times, and especially when you're in like kind of wild times that we're in now, it's like easy to be like, oh man, what's happening to people, what's happening in the
Yeah.
world. But you actually connect with people whether they're in your same bubble or not, and you really realize that, oh, there's less differences here, there's more connection here. And so yeah, having all these tools to be able to utilize to do that is a cool time as well.
Yeah. I apologize that I don't know know this, but do you have a family, like children?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, two kids working. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of connection, I'm kind of curious, we're living in this digital world right now and it's becoming more and more hard for us to connect with other people. And I think that there's like this big renaissance happening right now where we are making massive efforts to connect with people, whether it's like having conversations like this or meeting in the real world again and print and all that. What do you hope for your children as they get a little older, and how you hope that they might navigate this, this new landscape that's kind of unfolding in front of us?
Yeah, I know. It is kind of, so my kids are in their 9. I have twin daughters.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, it's been an awesome ride. They're 9, and yeah, so it's like
It's
seeing,
happening.
yeah, it's happening. And um I guess I have some hope, and like you said, a bit of a renaissance in the importance and the value of human connection, the value of direct connection, the value of, yeah, this is being noticed, I think. And I kind of, my kids don't have phones, my kids aren't really on devices, but my wife and I are, and we work from home, and we're both self-employed entrepreneurs. Kind of, it's easy to kind of be like randomly working on and off all the time.
Yeah.
So therefore it's like I'm on my phone in front of my kids. I suddenly had to do this text message or this email, and I try to limit that exposure so that my experience around my kids isn't just like me on my phone all the time. And they sort of, I sort of see them like almost this like kind of eye roll about the phones sort of thing, like where they're kind of, but inevitably, if we're on them all the time, if they see us on them all the time, that kind of just gets in the back of their head, and it's like, well, they kind of want their device too, or eventually. So navigating that, it's like trying to instill the value of the real world, and not, we don't like restrict, like are super restrictive about it, like never show them the phone or never let them look at it or whatever, because that I feel like just does the opposite. It makes them want it more,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So like riding that balance, but I think I guess what I'm trying to say is that for like our generation, I grew up before we had any of this digital devices, and then it just sort of slowly trickled into your life. And at certain times, it's really helpful, and at certain times, it's like, oh, this is so beneficial to my life, and it's almost easy to be blinded and not see the the reality of it, not see yourself like, on your phone. You get that message like, oh, you spent 4 hours this week, or, each day on your phone. You're like, 4 hours.
Yeah.
Mm. So you see this a little bit, but the generation that's kind of growing up now, they're just like in it. It's just in this world, and maybe they see it a little more objectively because it didn't just like slowly creep into their life, or maybe it is slowly creeping in. I don't know what to say, but I
Yeah.
guess what I think is that it seems like there could be this little bit of like the hype period has kind of happened, and the hype is sort of waning now. They're kind of ubiquitous to life. We sort of just use them all the time, but if we can kind of use them less, or the next generation can kind of see more objectively of like, here's the times when you do and don't use this kind of thing. I hope that there kind of will
Yeah.
be, yeah, the interest in
Yeah.
human connection or non-digital stuff will increase. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really challenging though. I mean, I'm just thinking about yesterday. I just had a long day and I was exhausted and I just found myself towards the end of the night just kind of doom scrolling, you know? And I'm just like, after I did it, I just felt so bad. And I'm like, why am I doing this? You know, you have like this device, this iPhone or this laptop, and it's just designed to keep you on the screen and keep you scrolling. And yeah, so I mean, I struggle with it a lot. And yeah, I don't know. It's definitely tough.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're being like manipulated. It's
Yeah.
These devices are psychologically manipulating you. There's
Yeah.
all these factors, dopamine, all these things that we're getting from through these things, and like we know it, but we're almost just hit over the head with it. That's what I mean. Whereas like we kind of, it just slowly trickled into our lives to where all of a sudden you
Yeah.
don't even see the reality. And when you do get these moments of like, oh right, why did I just do this? In some ways, it's like you got to kind of have compassion for yourself, because you like probably opened up your phone to like check the weather, and then all of a sudden like 30 minutes had gone by and you're like realize that you're doing you never even checked the weather. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, well, you were tricked into doing that. It wasn't that you're a horrible person, or oh gosh, like you're not paying
Yeah.
attention to the real world. And so I like wonder, I kind of, I think as this digital landscape, as this evolves with how we use these things, I love technology. I love the ability to do all this crazy stuff wherever I'm at on a device. That I can make videos, I can correspond, I can be on a podcast on my phone anywhere in
Yeah.
the world. It's like there's some really cool aspects, but I think to the point of like where we're sort of starting to see it a little more clearly about, at first you're just like, oh wow, there's this thing I can use and it's free and I can connect with my friends. And then you're realizing, well, you are the product. If it's free, you're being farmed, your attention is being farmed, your information is being farmed, right? And at first it was like we just were like, oh, this is a cool thing to use and it's free and I can talk to my family and my friends now,
Yeah.
right? And as that like veil has been a little, now we're like in deep, we like use it, everyone's using it, we use it in all these different ways, but we also are sort of like, wait a minute, I'm the product here. And as we kind of work through that challenge, I think maybe the technology will change, or maybe our perspective will change. I think
Yeah.
riding that balance, trying to find that. I've been just more recently just trying to be like, all right, well, when like, can I just like leave my phone for a while? Can I just like try to, even if it's just a little bit a day, just get away from it, leave it at home. I
Yeah.
used to like navigate life without a phone.
Yeah, for sure. I remember when I moved to New York after college. It was like pre, internet on the phones, and I would have to print out Google Maps to where I was going in New York City. And so I'd be like, okay, this one's for like in the morning when I go here, and then I have another map for when I come back. It was just, oh, what a cool time.
I know, right? In a way, it was like, oh man, it was so much more effort. But in also another way, it was kind of cool that, you were like using the tech, but you were still like kind of using real life. And yeah, it's just,
Yeah.
I think we're just, yeah, in this point where we're sort of been so like buried into these things that I think I, what I hope, what I try to do myself, what I try to share to the next generation is like how to kind of pull out of that. I guess one of the things, right? Like, okay, so in action sports and skiing, it's like if you're a professional athlete, what your job is to kind of do wild stuff and share it with people, partly to inspire them, partly to wow them, partly to market the products that you work with, right? Like there's kind of all these factors of what like your job is as a pro athlete. And you know, like you're really like you can do that, but but also like have to hold on to what makes you true to the sport, what makes your connection to this thing, why are you doing it, right? And I guess when I first started making ski films, we would work on this film all winter long, and it was crazy because you were shooting on like film, so you wouldn't see the shot until maybe like a month or two later when the film got processed. So you had no idea really, like you have the feeling you're doing something, you're like, yeah, I landed that trick, it was awesome. You may have like skied away from it, but then you watch the footage like 2 months later and you're like, ooh, I actually kind of like landed, sat down, almost fell over, I stood up and I skied away, but boy, that wasn't as clean as I thought it was, you know. Or the the camera ran out of film or something, right? And then so there was like those aspects where it's like delayed you know, kind of input. And then the film didn't even come out until the fall. And so people had no idea what you were doing all winter long. And then they would all go to the movie and watch the movie or buy the DVD or whatever and watch these films, and you would see all the action that happened last winter. And now we live in a world where it's like someone skis a crazy line and their buddy's there with their phone like filming it, and then it's like on the internet before they're even out of the field. They're,
Yeah.
you know, and in some ways it's like, well, this is our job, this is what we're here to do, we're here to capture these moments and share this and inspire people and wow people. But am I doing this just to like put it out on the internet immediately and get that dopamine hit from somebody else? Like, am I doing this, the external versus internal question? And I think what has, you know, I've been a pro athlete for going on 25 years now, which is a pretty decently long career for an action
It's a
sports
solid
athlete.
career, man. Heck yeah.
And, you know, there's been several factors of why I think that's worked. And one of the main factors is that I just love it. And I love it for myself more than I love it for the external. And I try to remember that each year. There were times when I was like kind of up and coming, when I was just like going for it, where I was like endless winter, you know, I was skiing as much as I could. I was coaching in the summer. I was going to South. I was just like, just breathing, living, drinking, eating, skiing, and for a while that was cool. But then it got to the point where I was so singularly focused that I didn't have the kind of perspective. And as I sort of established myself in my career, and I was able to like, okay, this is real. This is like who I am. This is what I do. This is happening. It's kind of a weird thing because you don't really know, and it takes some time. You're like kind of doing
Yeah.
it, and then you're like, am I a pro? Am I getting paid? You know, like whatever. So it takes some time. Eventually there's the realization of like, this is real. And and then and then I could kind of like take a breath and be like, okay, now maybe a couple of months in the summer to go ride my bike or go do something different can give me perspective, and I can come back stronger. I can come back more hungry. I can come back with a new outlook, a new little perspective on the overall kind of world. And so that sort of helped kind of develop that. And then the next thing that really helped me develop it was I realized that I was like, wait a minute, if I'm just out here just like filming every day and I'm grinding every day and I'm trying to ski at my best, but I'm never really doing it for myself, I've sort of like plateaued in a way, right? Because when you're just doing a sport for yourself, when you're just going out to just do it, you're learning, you're pushing yourself, you're trying to get better. But then if just every time you go out, you're only doing it to work, right? Like if you're only going out to film, you're only going out to shoot photos, and every time you go out, yeah, that's great because it's your job. But when you're going out to film, you're not skiing very much. There's so much production that's happening. You're moving slowly. You're maybe doing, you know, a couple of runs a day. If you're hiking, it's one or two runs. If you're mechanized, you maybe get more, but essentially you're just like grinding and grinding, and you're maybe learning a little bit because you're trying new stuff, you're filming, but you don't really have that opportunity to really get into it just for yourself. And so what I realize is that I can't just, well, I guess it was another tip from Jeremy Jones where we went filming, and he was like, you we would go to Alaska. Alaska, you don't go till to the spring. March and April is when Alaska, the season really kind of hits, when the days are longer, when the snow is better, when there's potentially less storms. It's kind of when things line up in Alaska, as well as it's like the Super Bowl. It's the end of the season. You've been working all season long. You've been getting stronger, getting smarter, getting more dialed, finding your skills to where you're at that peak. And now you're entering Alaska. Now you're entering that final, kind of place where you're going to be pushed to your limit, and you need to be ready for that. And we were on a trip with someone, and they had been just filming all year. And Jeremy said to him, like, how many free ride days have you had? And they were like, none. I've just been filming every day. I've been out working. I've been shooting photos. And Jeremy was just like, no, you can't come up to Alaska unless you've had, and he's had a number, and the numbers changed in my head. And as I tell the story, now it's 60 days, but I think it was like 30. He was like, you got to have 30 free ride days before you can come to Alaska. And that just meant 30 days of just riding for yourself, just going out, doing it for you, doing it out. And I really was like, oh, that's a good call. And so now, while this is my job and I'm going out to film and work and shoot photos, I make sure that every year that a percentage of my season, and it's a pretty good percentage, is just going out to do it. And I guess back to the link to technology, if I didn't have like a miniature camera that I could just slap on my head or hold in my hand or put on a stick, I would feel like I was maybe not doing enough. But because I have this teeny little amazing camera that I can carry with me, that I can sort of work even when I'm just free skiing, I just can go to the hill and not have an agenda, not have a filmer, and not have a photographer that I'm lining up, and just go ski with my friends. And hey, it's a cool moment. I can pull out that camera, I can pull out my phone, I can shoot my buddies, I can, you know, film a POV, and it's like, hey, I just did my job, and yet I was pretty much just skiing for myself the whole day. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like a balance with it that I've found. It's like, and then the other aspect of that, like, this is pretty long-winded here, but I'm winding back around to the what I try to instill in the next generation is like, hey, like, we're out here in Alaska, or we're out here filming, and we're capturing this stuff, and it's going to be shown on the internet, it's going to make it to the movie. But you know what, like, right now it's just ours. Like, right now, I just watched you do that, and it was just mind blowing. And the filmers watched it, and the guy in the drone filmed it. And this is so wild. And we're out here in this remote environment. We're in this small elite crew working together to make, like, what we're doing out here is it's magical. We're making magic out here together, and it's ours. Like, no one knows what happened, but we know. I saw you. He filmed it. Like, this is wild. Just hold that for a little while. Just hold on to that. Like, go home tonight and watch your clip a few times and relive it. That's fine. But to immediately share it to the external world dissolves that sense of like magic that you had, right? And so, like, just delay it. Like, it doesn't have to be like the fall. You don't have to wait 8 months to share this with the world, but just like hold on to it for a little while and see what that feels like. So that's kind of like a message, kind of a perspective that I like to have with this
Yeah. Man,
development.
you brought up so many good points, but yeah, definitely something about setting time aside to do things for yourself, I think is so important, and it applies to everybody. Whether you're like a photographer or an athlete or, a dad or whatever, right? It's like it really applies to everything. Especially when I feel like we're kind of in a world where, right, we have to work for money, we have all this purpose, and it's just to set aside some time for yourself to kind of do the things that you love, I think is super important. And then also that kind of ties into where you're talking about just being present, which I think is insanely difficult to do these days as well. But yeah, just being mindful of that, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. And right. It's easy to just, it's easy to miss that. And yeah, I think there hopefully is some renaissance of that sort of coming back, because we lived like that for a long time. And we sort of, right? Like you go to a concert or you see and it's just like everybody's like holding up their
Yeah.
or I watch a bike race, and everyone's like a filmer now. Everyone's like
Yeah.
capturing content for their Instagram page, and it's just like, yo, like
Yeah.
put that thing down. Like, are you gonna really this video that of the concert? Like, are you gonna even watch this later on, or like post it to Instagram to prove that you were there? Like, who cares? Like, enjoy the concert. You're here at a concert.
I mean, that's funny. I've just been thinking a lot about my next steps in life, and I'm kind of going to be really doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on print again.
Cool.
I just believe that it's such like a powerful, I don't know, it's just like a powerful thing. And again, like kind of speaking on that renaissance, I feel like it's coming back, and to be able to have like this physical thing that kind of ties back into that experience and that digital life as well. Like, yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. Still trying to figure it out, but gonna make it happen.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, right. Like you said, there's so many challenges, and yeah, with like your making anything has extra costs. But yeah, like figuring out a way to do it, we lived in the world where it was like monthly magazines coming out, or even if there were, in skiing and biking world, it was like they maybe were like 6 months or 8 months out of the year you'd get these. Maybe that cadence was, for the time. But I agree with you, like the power of print, and maybe it's not like you're saying, just putting out a once a year zine of all, like that's a pretty cool goal to have, and a pretty cool thing to put out in the world. And it is needed. It's funny, like, yeah, I guess I came from that world. Like when I first started, it was all basically my job was to be in ski movies and get photos in magazines. And now the magazines like practically don't exist. It's in skiing, we still have the ski journal, and there's free skier, and their powder now had just came, they died and they came back. And so it's like Powder
Cool.
magazine, this iconic, the legendary like ski magazine. And they come back with, I think they did one or two episodes, one or two issues. But it's so cool that that's happening. And the part of what the power of that print, which is so cool, is that it's like it's a physical archive. And I've been at this house in Bend for, this will be 10 years coming up this fall, and I'm on this huge garage purge right now. My full-time job
Yeah.
over the last 2 weeks is cleaning the garage, which is, we have a pretty decent sized garage, and it's just never had a car in it, and there's a lot of stuff. And it was like I moved from the house that I basically lived in as I was becoming a pro skier, like the first 10 years of my career. I moved everything from that house, and it just like put it in the garage basically. And so in this cleaning process, I've gone through and I've found all these archives of all the ski magazines that I've saved. And I tell you,
Cool.
the experience of opening up a ski magazine from 10, 15 years ago, it's like so fun. It's such a
Yeah.
cool, you're taking it like a step back in time. It's this archive of, there's amazing photos, there's funny ads, you see the like state of the industry at the time, right? It was like, oh, I'm so glad I saved these. I'm so glad I have this like library of these ski magazines. And I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, it's like, it would be a shame if this like didn't exist in some way in the future. So I'm glad to hear that,
Yeah.
see that too.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great to hear your perspective as well. Gosh, I want to be mindful of your time, but we didn't touch about
I'm good as long as you want to go. I'm
Oh,
fine,
okay.
man.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm chilling. I just got to go
Um,
clean the garage after this.
okay. Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to dig in a little bit about your path, maybe I guess off the skis because I imagine it sounds like you grew up making films with your buddies and all of that. At what point did you kind of realize, and you obviously you were doing big films for your sponsors and stuff, but at what point did you kind of realize that you wanted to start making some stuff?
Yeah, right. It was at first you're like, I was a kid and I saw ski movies being, happening. And it was like me and my friends. Well, we had a rich friend who had a camcorder.
Yeah.
And so we're like,
Nice.
we're going to make a ski movie. You got a camcorder. Right. The barrier of
We
entry
all had that friend.
yeah, the barrier of entry was your friend with the camcorder. And so, yeah, it was at first, it's just like emulating what you see. And so that was like the first kind of interest in trying to create something, and then it's like being a part of a production, and that for me that happened with Teton Gravity Research, and it wasn't. I started working with some other folks as well, and it led into that, and so then you're just kind of like in this mode of like, well, this is I get to do what I want, but it's someone else's project, and you see all the work that goes into it, and it really you see the value and the time and the effort and the collaboration that goes on with so many people, and kind of start to learn the process of how these things happen and what it takes to make something, and then eventually, yeah, I kind of got to the point where it was like, well, this is really cool to be a part of these movie projects, and it's not like I don't have any control. I would usually go to Jackson in the summer and I would help work on the film. I would help look through my footage. I would help pick a song, see, there's some control, but inevitably it's someone else's project and it's someone else's vision, and where I'm helping collaborate with it. But yeah, eventually you kind of like want to see what else you can create. I've always been a creative person. I've always been into artistic mediums, and I think it was like, well, hey, I have a bunch of experience now. I kind of see behind the scenes of what it takes to create this type of thing. I would like to take a stab at it myself. And back to the beginning of our convo, it's like, oh, right, this is hard.
Yeah.
Doing something new is challenging, and so for me, I ended up working on a couple like film projects, and I sort of like with the why, I kind of dug in deep. It's like, well, I sort of saw pro athletes who made their own films. There was sort of two versions. There was just like the really, really good pro athlete who just needed to show what they could do 100%. And there was just like, I'm so good at seeing it that I need to have my own movie. Right. And that was kind of like one way that they happened. And for me, I was like, well, I'm pretty good, but I'm kind of showcased already in these other films. It was more of like, well, if I'm going to make a film, there needs to be like a why. Like, what am I trying to say? What message do I want to? Do I want to share a message? Is there a message? Do I have a message? Right? Like that kind of is what got it going. It's like, what's my, I guess, taken from a friend who is kind of a business coach. Her perspective was like, every person has their unique way that they look at the world. Everybody sees the world differently. Find what your unique perspective is, and like grab onto that, and that's like your core tenet, your core like sort of aspect of like what makes what you have to share valuable, right? And so that was kind of it for me. I was like, well, what's my unique perspective? What's my take on the world? What do I want to share? And so I think that was what got it going for me, and like why I wanted to make my own projects. And yeah, so that I think coming from those places, you're not just inspired, but you're also like you're thinking of the why as well.
Yeah. I think the sooner we figure out that our perspectives are kind of like our superpower, the better. I think it didn't take I think I learned that this year. So I'm 40 now, Like it took me all this time to finally realize like, wow, like all these things that I do because it makes me me is actually like my superpower and what makes me special and valuable. And that's what I need to really lean into. And um, yeah, it takes time to kind of realize that, but you kind of just spelled it out a little bit.
It does.
I
It
feel like
takes your
you obviously,
experiences. It takes the different things that you kind of learn that in
yeah,
little tidbits over time.
yeah. Yeah, I feel like so speaking of that, like you developed this voice as an athlete in the mountains over many, many, many years and falling on your face and probably breaking bones and going on amazing trips. Did you feel like when you moved into like this other aspect of film production, the creative world, that you had to find your voice there, or did they kind of blend together? Was it natural, or was it something you had to work towards?
I think I think you're right. I think there was a little bit of finding that voice and learning that, yeah, you're learning what your skills are, learning where you have strengths, where you have weaknesses, what to work on. I think all those kind of come back up every time you take on a new endeavor, for sure. And it was because once it was a project, then it was like, all right, well, now I want to get other people involved. I want to help other people share their vision there, and maybe even if it's just action, if it's just sharing this other person's like actions, that might be, it doesn't have to go beyond that. But how do I help this project be the best it can by the other people that are involved and facilitating them to like be able to do their best or share their perspective, and even if that's just, yeah, through their actions, through their sport, through their what they do, seeing how you can help kind of get that onto your screen, onto your project, kind of share that with the world as well.
Yeah, I've been seeing this very common thread between these conversations I've been having with people about, yeah, it just sounds like the power of collaboration and then the power of lifting others up. And I think just kind of makes us the, or it brings us to our best level too, you know? And I think without it, I don't think we could ever make it to that next level. Yeah, there's something special about that.
Yeah, definitely. The whole concept of like the self-made individual or whatever, is like pretty silly. I mean, I think it comes from the idea of like someone who financially did well, who didn't come from a financially well family, right, is like a self-made person.
Yeah.
But it's like if you get into anything, you're like, no one's self-made, man. I would have been nowhere without like so much input and help and nudges and shoulder taps and whispers in the ear and hey, you should do, right? Like there's just so much collaboration that has got me to where I am in my life. And yeah, I've made the moves and I like saw the vision, but it was without the help of others, I would be nowhere. It's important to remember that, to see that, to share that.
Yeah. Is there someone out there that is inspiring you right now?
Man,
Could be off the mountain or as
yeah,
well too.
boy, I have a hard time with absolutes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm
Right,
sure
right.
I'm sure your family is inspiring you right now big time and
Yeah,
there's probably a million
I
things.
feel like I've always struggled with this. I mean, maybe like some people are just like, what's your five favorite artists of all time? And it's like, they're just like, oh, well, that's easy. And they can just list their, I'd be like, I don't know, man. Like my five favorite, like there's life is so much nuance. There's so much like
Yeah,
what you're
totally.
right. So I think about that, the same thing with questions like that. Like, but the answer is where you were getting at is there's so much inspiration out there and there's so many people that are inspiring. And I kind of think about it, yeah, more in groups, right? In more in interactions that you have. I guess, yeah, there's like so many people that I'm inspired by. I look to people within the sport that are older than me, that have been further down the path and I see what they're doing, what their lives are like, what their strengths have been, and I'm inspired by those to see like, wow, look what Chris Davenport has done, look what Jeremy Jones has done, what have these people done, and then I look to my same age, and I think, oh wow, I'm so inspired by seeing, how this person took their ski career and turned it into a filming career, or they turned it into Eric Corlifson, who now like is basically like an engineer of equipment, and he loves tinkering with equipment and making the ski gear we have better. So I'm inspired by seeing that those peers that have sort of taken their path. And then, and this is just all within the sport of skiing, right? So then you see the youth and these next, for me at this point, there's like multiple generations, um, you know, that are, that I've watched, that I've looked to now, that I'm like, I get inspiration through their vision. I get inspiration through their like hunger. I've been skiing a lot with Kai Jones, who is 18 over the last couple of years. And, Kai was Todd Jones's son. So Todd Jones is one of the owners and, founders of Teton Gravity Research. So it's like I've seen this like kid grow up basically, and now he's one of the best skiers in the world. And so it's like,
Wow, yeah.
hard not to be inspired by him, because just seeing like his path and his vision and his hunger. So there's, yeah. And then, right, like, okay, now let's switch to like family. Well, I'm inspired by my wife and her skills and strengths, and my kids by their creative visions. And so it's like, I think more of the question is like, how do you capture the inspiration? How do you stop and realize that you're right? Like, so then it's like the who is inspiring you. It's like more of like, how do we make sure that we don't miss the inspiration?
All right, that's our show for today. If you like this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. It all really helps out. If you have any questions about the creative process or anything in between, please drop a comment. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. You can follow along at Broken Coastal on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe to my newsletter. It's completely free, a weekly dose of inspiration at the intersection of design and outdoors. Thanks for being here.